Dear parents, family members, friends, and coaches, I would just like to remind you all that the Swim Stage Trainer is a training device, a tool specifically designed to teach your children how to swim. It is not a flotation device, a life-saving device, or a bathing suit, and your child or student should not be left unattended while wearing the device. Moving forward, the first thing that you're going to do is set the device up to teach your child how to float effortlessly while wearing the SST. Once your child gets comfortable with floating, treading water, and propelling themselves forward, you are well on your way. At this point, you will follow the directions and remove one pad at a time according to the pad removal chart, and repeat the exercises each time you remove a pad. Remember, every child is different anatomically, and it is possible you may need to make an adjustment to the pad removal order. Follow the directions, and if at any point your child seems to be unbalanced in the water, please contact us for suggestions. The first step is to get your child or student in the water, supporting them from either behind, putting your hands gently under their armpit, or from in front, holding their hands or fingertips. In this position, your goal is to get them to float with very little effort from their hands or legs. The best way to achieve this is have your child relax and breathe naturally, keeping air in their lungs. It's also important to understand that they only need to keep their nose fully above the water. It's okay for the water to come above their chin to about their lower lip because they will be breathing through their nose. Your child or student will float much easier in this position as opposed to trying to keep their chin above the water. Let them lay their head back a little bit, and this will also help them to float. It's okay for their ears to be underwater. You'll be surprised how much easier it is to float by just allowing a little more of your head, with the exception of your nose and eyes, to submerge under the surface of the water. Throughout the entire process, it is also important to get your child comfortable with putting their face in the water. The best place to do this is on the steps, with them sitting down or their feet on the step, giving them confidence that they are stable and safe in the water. Start by having them blow bubbles in the water. From there, get them to put their face in the water, submerging their mouth and nose. And then ask them to hold their breath for a second or two and gradually make that duration longer. Continue this exercise the entire process until they are very comfortable with their face in the water. Now, as you can see, Lucy here is floating on her own without using her arms and legs to keep her face above the water. Now, as she leans forward in a more vertical position, she needs to use her hands to stabilize. If your child or student is off balance or bobbing in the water in this position, they may have too much buoyancy, or the buoyancy needs to be adjusted. Remember, you always want the majority of the buoyancy in the upper torso and shoulders. You want them to just be relaxed and float. Once you achieve this, you're well on your way. Your child or student will overcome a lot of the fear associated with being in the water and gain confidence by their ability to float. As they lay their head back, they may have the tendency for their legs to come up, which is also one of the exercises very important for them to learn how to float on their back. Once you achieve buoyancy, ask your child to try to get their whole head and neck out of the water with their arms and feet. And you will both see that it takes a tremendous amount of effort just to gain a few more inches out of the water, as opposed to just lying back, relaxing, and floating. Breathing is very important. As you will see, when a deep breath is taken, the extra air entering the lungs will actually raise the body further out of the water. Vice versa, if you exhale all the air out of your lungs, you will begin to sink. This takes us to the exercises, which is simply teaching your child to kick their feet and move their arms to keep their head above the water. At first, they can do it while floating in a stationary position. Once that is achieved, you want to instruct them to kick their feet and move their arms in an effort to move forward either to you or to the wall. The goal is to have your child or student keeping their head above the water and propelling themselves through the water in what might look like doggy paddling or treading water. The more your child relaxes, the lower they remain in the water, the easier it will be to learn. The lower they tread in the water, the less effort they will have to make with their arms and legs. If your child or student tries too hard to raise their head further out of the water, they will have to work much harder. Just let them relax, be comfortable with the water up to their chin, and they will progress much quicker. Here, let's take a look at Lucy. First, she's going to get in the water and go to the wall, trying to raise her head up higher while keeping the entire head out of the water. Now, as you can see, it's much harder for her and takes much more effort to do this. Now, Lucy is going to allow herself to relax and float lower in the water, keeping her arms and hands in the water while propelling herself forward. Look how much easier and how little effort she needs to exert to get the same results. Once your child gets comfortable with floating, treading water, and propelling themselves forward, you are well on your way. At this point, you will follow the directions and remove one pad at a time according to the pad removal chart, and repeat the exercises each time you remove a pad. Remember, every child is different anatomically, and it is possible that there may need to be an adjustment as to the pad removal order. Follow the directions, and if at any point your child or student seems to be unbalanced in the water, please contact us for suggestions. Moving forward with the pad removal one at a time, it is important to make sure your child or student has progressed to the prior level each time you remove a pad, and don't remove another pad until they have. Your child or student's natural instinct will instinctively make them work harder each time you remove a pad. And as long as you move forward slowly and surely, before you know it, you'll be down to just a few pads. In fact, when you get to 1 or 2 pads left, it's likely that your child is already swimming simply because of the construction of the SST. The SST, with all its extra pockets and material, makes it heavier than your average bathing suit. At this point, you'll want to remove the SST and put your child or student in the lightest bathing suit you can find. For the girls, a one-piece without legs or arms, or a tight-fitting two-piece would be ideal. And for the boys, a very streamlined swimsuit, nothing bulky or baggy, because the extra weight, especially when wet, will make it more difficult for them to adjust. Stay away from cotton suits with a lot of liner, pleated waistbands, and suits with long legs or extra material. The long legs almost down to the knees, the baggy construction, the extra liner, and even the cotton or nylon waist tie will weigh your child down and create a lot of drag in the water. For the boys, the best suit to transition to after the SST would be a very light nylon or lycra boys brief style swimsuit. I can't emphasize enough how important this transition is. Even though they're kind of out of style and used mostly in competitive competition, it would be beneficial to at least get one lightweight swim brief to finalize the learning process after your child has transitioned out of the SST. Best of luck and be safe in the water.